Also, I'm every time I do this, y'all, what should I get right here? What should I get tattooed right here? Because it's like there's,
You should get an arrow, a Hawkeye arrow.
Yeah.
dude, that's not a bad idea.
Or it doesn't have to be a Hawkeye arrow, but an arrow of your choosing that means something to you.
You know what? Get a
Ooh.
mustache. You know, like people do, but get it there, and then you can always you'll be smelling your pit though.
These
hey,
are just great tattoo ideas.
hey, Kevin and Kristin.
What?
That was our cold opening, everybody. Transition.
It's brilliant. What was our opening tonight?
And Mike.
And Mike.
And I'm here in a smaller box.
Oh my god. What will we do without Mike Gregoric?
Nothing.
We would
Stop
do
it.
nothing, is what we would do.
Stop it.
I am one of your hosts, Kevin Reagan. With me,
Another host, Kristen Finger, and another host.
Mike Gregoric. I forgot that I'm supposed to say my name, not you. Yeah, I'm here too.
Of course you are.
I wonder
And
out
it's
there in world of watching, does it look weird when I talk to Kristen like this or Mike like this? I
It's
think it
so
looks
stupid.
cool.
I
I
think
think it
it's
looks awesome.
I think we've voted it's dumb and
I'm
Kevin's
doing
like,
it. I don't care. We did vote, but third party candidate. I know I don't win, and I pretty much make the disaster person win, but I'm going to do it.
It's been 20 months and we're still talking about whether to look in the camera at Zoom or look to your side in Zoom. That's how far we've made it in the pandemic, everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm preparing for the next one, which should be starting. Let's get on to the episode. We are going to remark on Hawkeye, episode 3, Echoes.
Echo, echoes, echoes.
oh, oh. Like if we're sort of just giving a general overview of like dislike. This one was shenanigans. This one had all the Christmas shenanigans that I wanted. Uh, and so I'm in for this episode. And we were talking about it last week because we got to see those two back to back. We were
Yeah.
like, oh, what's it going to be like just watching one? It's fine, everyone. It's really great just watching one.
Yeah, it's fine when it's this one, because this
Yeah.
was unbelievable. There are so many great action sequences in this, and we'll talk about them as we go through, but you see one that's so good, and you think, well, that was just amazing and worth it. And then there's another one that is far superior, and I would even argue it rivals anything that the MCU has done on the smaller screen so far. Uh, in
I feel like every one of the Marvel Disney Plus series has had that episode where you're like, oh yeah, like this is it. This is the best one. I hope it gets better, but I'm locked in, and this did it for me. I liked the first two episodes, but the first one focused a lot just on Kate. The second one, kind of they had to meet, you know what I mean? So I was ready for
yeah,
the shenanigans that Kristen mentioned, and this was total shenanigan, but also like really heartwarming moments as well. Also some great action scenes, which we're going to talk
yeah.
about. I was like, not crying, but I was like teary eyed at some points. I was like yelling and pumped up at some points. Like I think I audibly was like, yeah, it was so good. It was great. It was my favorite
Yeah.
episode so far.
It's funny too, Mike. At the end of last week's episode, you even said at the end of last week's Remark episode, I should say, not Hawkeye, because Mike's not on Hawkeye. He should be.
I should
What?
be. I'm
That'd be
here. I'm in New York.
amazing.
I'm in New York. Put me in the pictures.
But Mike, you had even said, I just don't want them to stay trapped in that room. And they got out pretty soon thereafter. And oh my God, to Chris's point, shenanigans ensued. So this episode, we got to see Maya Lopez, who we know will be Echo. At no point do they call her Echo yet, but we'll get to that. That's a whole other series. And that is, I'm going to try and say her name here because we all know Kevin does not pronounce very well, but I believe it is Aliqua. I think her name is Aliqua Cox. She is deaf like this character, she does have a prosthetic leg like this character. So that obviously,
Finally.
yeah, right, absolutely. She was excellent. Everything about this young woman was absolutely excellent from the first time we saw her last week for that like couple of seconds that we saw her.
Great.
Thoughts on her in this?
Thoughts on her opening up the storyline of getting to see this origin story of her, and just that because I think last week we were talking sort of about like, is hers a superpower, or is it a like just really awesome human being using her abilities? And I think that so far is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And just learning the backstory of her dad, and getting to see how well she observes. Just that like karate sequence was like a really fun moment. But what I do love that they keep doing is they're doing it with her and with Clint, are taking the sound away for us as the viewers
Yeah.
to feel that moment like they are. And that's just brilliant directing.
In this one too, Chris, obviously as a young girl in 2007, which was great because we open up seeing Kate Bishop, not Kate Mitchell. Who the hell called that woman Kate Mitchell? Kate, when we first see her, is in 2007, and now we get to see Maya in 2007, and she's in a classroom, and her teacher every once in a while will turn her back and she can't read her lips, and they break up the subtitling, and I loved it because you're as confused as this young kid is, and you should be.
Yeah.
That was the scene that got me a little emotional as someone who works with kids in after-school programs and summer camps. And is involved in a program that features a lot of support for kids with different special needs. It was just so heart-wrenching to start to see her struggle, but then to figure it out herself, and then obviously her dad comes in, which I know we're going to talk about in a bit, and that scene was so beautiful and touching, with just him communicating like how she's different and how she's special, and to see her go through a very not similar in terms of exactly what happened, but to see the show feature both our lead Kate and then Maya at a young age, and sort of what they grew up and how they got to where they were in such a quick fashion, but a smart fashion, was really fun. I like this character a lot so far.
I love the juxtaposition of the fact that Clint is part of both of their origin stories in the complete sort of different motivational way. But without him, they wouldn't be who they are like in this series. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So we see they do mirror, these two characters mirror each other so much so. Again, 2007, they're young. They both obviously very close to their fathers. We see Maya with her father, William. In the comic books, his name is Willie Crazy Horse Lincoln. He is one of the... there he is. He is part of the Tracksuit Mafia. Do you have that next picture too, Mike, just to show that, because you can see him in the tracks?
We'll get both of those up for people watching at home. There you go.
There he is in his tracksuit, and if you look going out the door, another member of the Mafia. This guy at no point, though, says bro, which is nice. I like it. It's a little more sophisticated. And here we see Maya at her karate lesson, where her father is telling her, just pay attention, watch what they're doing. And that's exactly what she does. And she learns. And she kicked the crap out of a kid. And that kid, it was a young kid who was great. And he even had the look of, I'm going to beat this girl.
Yeah, like, I don't want to hit her.
Yeah, she's got the prosthetic leg. And she watches him and kicks the crap out of him. And it is beautiful. So, so we have, again, I'm going to butcher the name. I believe it is Zahn McClarnon, who plays William. Awesome actor. You've seen him in tons of things. He's in the Westworld. He is not going to be in the show much longer unless he's in flashbacks, because, spoiler, much like Kate's dad, he is killed. And as Kristin's saying, he is killed by Ronan, which is how we see Clint is actually able to kind of give the origin stories to both of these young women.
I love the parallel of both kids watching Hawkeye as this different persona. You know what I mean? It's both from their viewpoints. You see Kate see him as the hero Hawkeye, and then you see the girl running along, you know what I mean? Just watching Ronan, kill everyone in that warehouse or car shop, you know what I mean, repair shop.
Yeah.
And just to see them both react to a very different Clint, I think that's going to play a lot into the rest of the series, is that him fighting that good bad side of himself, you know what I mean, and sort of, is he a hero, is he a role model, or is he just a killer, type thing, is going to come back around. So it was cool to see that for sure.
Oh
And
yeah.
that photo that Mike has up right now of William, whatever we're going to call him, you can see there's a figure behind him, inconsequential, nobody of importance. So we'll
Nobody
kind of
have important.
yeah, we'll move on from right now.
Oh,
But
holding my tongue until that part of the show.
yeah, we're
If you
going to
make
talk
it
about
until minute 45 to 50, everybody, we will talk about what you know we're going to talk
Now,
about.
we're going to talk about a little bit here because we will reference a little bit of the comics here just to kind of give some backstory. Maya Lopez was a young girl when her father was killed. Originally in the comic books, he was not killed by Ronin, he was killed by Kingpin. So Kingpin ended up killing him, and as he died, he asked Kingpin to take care of his daughter, which Kingpin did decide, yeah, I will do that, and he honored it. So, is that Kingpin behind him? I mean, who could ever tell? We will show other evidence later in the episode. But as
It's 100% Kingpin. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
I
I'm sorry.
agree, I definitely
Sorry.
agree.
I'm waiting until the end of the episode. I'm sorry.
But as he is dying, he reaches out to his daughter, touches her face, and leaves this blood mark on her face. Which I gotta tell, there it is. I hope that's showing up for people. It's a semi medium res photo. I was very impressed that Disney did this because Disney does not do a lot of blood. And that is clearly blood on the face. And concurrently, this is how the character of Echo looked in the comic book for many, many years with the weight print that she wore almost in honor of, the death of her father.
Kevin,
Other side.
I'll be honest. You don't always impress me, but this impressed me. This research right here. I'm just kidding. You always impress me. When I saw that this photo, because I read up on the comics, but I try to sort of come in with fresh if I don't know the storyline. When I saw this and you were putting this in the show, I was like, oh my! That moment when I watched it live and had no idea, I thought it was so beautiful. And also, they're clearly the father. We don't know their nationality really, but they seem like they're potentially Native American or some background. And so it looked to me like that too, like kind of war paint when you touched her face. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And then when you dropped this photo like to us, I was like, they're so smart, the writers.
It's funny too, like if you go back and watch the episode when they're doing the shadow puppets on the wall or the hand puppets. In the background between them, right after they do it, you can see there's a turkey, like a hand turkey that she has up on her wall.
Cool.
And I think she's a little old to have a hand turkey. So, and then there's also the implications of the hand, which we saw come into play with Daredevil, Kingpin. I said it. We'll move on.
Oh God!
Kingpin's coming. Kingpin's coming.
Yeah. So in this version, obviously, Maya sees Ronin kill her father, and this becomes her quest to seek out Ronin and kill him or her. And as, again, nobody knows who Ronin is to this point in the series, including Kate does not know who Ronin is. And I was surprised. I actually thought some of these people would know, but we do get a moment, which we'll get to in a few minutes here, where he's talking about Ronin as
the interesting thing about this is like because later we have Clint and Kate talking about his costume again, which I could just watch forever. But the idea that Clint never had like a mask or like a hood or like a whatever as Hawkeye, even though he was in hiding. Yeah. But then with Ronin, he like completely covered his, you know what I mean? So it's just like because he made both of those choices. So like it's just cool to sort of he is two completely different people, and that is just so cool. And now we need just like a full Ronin movie, right? Like that's gonna happen, please. Like I just want to watch that.
My guess is, Chris, that Echo will address that because she does take over the mantle of Ronin in the comic books, but briefly. So I don't know that they'll do that. Stay tuned, I guess. Everyone eat your carrots and stay healthy, and we'll all do this together.
Okay. Does it have to be carrots?
I know, they suck, but they're very good for you. How about something else that's good for you? KB Toys. That's where we find out they are hanging out as a defunct, all KB Toys are defunct, but a defunct KB Toys is the Tracksuit Mafia's hideout. So
that was we did a bit last week, and we know you watch every week, Remark, called "How Holiday Is It?" or and that for whatever reason just stuck out to me. I feel like there's so many good holiday like action movies where they're in like a broken down like toy store, or and so that just screamed very like holiday to me, like the leftover toys for this tracksuit mafia. And then they obviously started playing the music. You heard the music playing kind of like eerily over the like the speakers at one point, and I was like, please use these toys in an action sequence. And of course they did, throwing the stuffed animals at each other. So I thought that was hilarious.
A lot of golden retriever stuffed animals too. Perhaps
funny.
A little foreshadowing of our dog. I don't know.
Well, that's what's interesting is like this dog is lingering, and I'm wondering how long this dog will linger to then be revealed as again a magical dog. Or like,
oh man, magical dog! I am hoping for magical dog.
Or just something a bit more than this dog they have to take care of.
We also got to see one of the things I really like about Marvel, and week after week we hear different people. Ridley Scott now getting in on the Marvel sucks bandwagon. They do a great job of. Yeah, Chris is like, huh? Yeah, I swear it's like, do particularly well where they expected it to be, and the blame goes on, it's because of Marvel, and it's like, that's weird.
But he was mad about, Chris, did you hear this story? He was mad. We don't need to go too far down a tangent, but he was mad about his movie, the Knights movie with Ben Affleck.
That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He was mad that it didn't do well, and when asked why do you think this bombed, he said it's because Marvel is taking over everything, and their movies aren't even that good, blah blah blah. So yeah.
Also, don't put Matt Damon in a Knight movie. Maybe next time make better casting choices.
We should do we'll do a spin-off, Remark. We have to watch that movie live react to it.
Oh, I would love to do that.
Like the moment I was like, oh, fun, Knights, like neat. I love a medieval thing. And then Matt Damon shows up and I was like, I'm out. I gotta go.
I'm good.
I don't watch this.
Well, one of the things that I feel Marvel does incredibly well is they balance action and drama and comedy, and this obviously had all of that. We see there's Kate and Clint. They are tied up on the same little machine animals that they were on at the end of last week, and one of the tracksuit mafia is on the phone and furious. So we think, oh, something's going down, and it's just he's fighting with his girlfriend who he bought Imagine Dragon tickets for, and she wants to take her sister and not him. And Kate was awesome in her just comical way of trying to help diffuse it and help this guy through his problems. And I just found that so awesome to that character.
So this, I don't know, this might be an Easter egg of the Kristin's proportions, but the fact that little Maya was asking if dragons were real, and then this guy happened to mention he was going to see Imagine Dragons. I don't know. I'm probably forcing it, but I feel like there's something.
Yeah.
Is the dog a dragon? Is what I'm asking you.
Magical dog.
Oh, it turns into a dragon. Maybe.
I don't know.
It's 100% Kingpin, but 50% the dog turns into a dragon at the end.
If the magical dog turns into dragonish Kingpin, we're all gonna crap our pants.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That might be too much.
Yeah.
So right now we get our first huge fight sequence as Echo comes in. She comments, sees Clint has a hearing aid. She comments on it, InSign. He signs what little he knows. We saw him speaking to his son who's learning sign language. And then he just says, yummy, I want a cookie, which is when in doubt, that's what you do. And then she tells him, you rely too much on technology. His joke being, my go-to weapon's 2 sticks and a string. But she's referring to the fact that this is a crutch for him. If it's gone, he is unable to cope. And we see, to some degree, a truth to that. Although, at the same time, the guy is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's because we had seen that bit in the trailer once they finally get out of the fight scene, like, you drive, I don't know how to drive, or blah, 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 blah. And I was like, at first I didn't know why he wanted her to drive.
Yeah.
But now I realize, someone needs to be shooting arrows.
They did such Disney dropped on Disney Plus Day. They dropped that whole entire sequence, and like an idiot, I watched it because I usually like to be surprised, but I was like, oh, this is so good. They did a great job. Shout out to like the editors, whoever, of hiding that fact that he lost his hearing aid when I watched it just as a scene. So then when it happened live, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a whole different context. This is why he has her shooting and he's not shooting. It wasn't just like a oops, I'm driving, you know what I mean, type of thing. It was so good. And the whole, I was gonna say this at some point, but the whole earpiece bit throughout the episode could have gone stale, but was so good every time. All the aspects of it, from him like struggling because of it, from him like not needing, like wanting to hear her when he has it out at the restaurant and like puts it back in after it's fixed. And she's like, "You had it out the whole time, and we thought maybe this wasn't fixed yet." I thought that was like a moment of brilliance. And yeah, Kevin, to your point, I'm excited to see how it evolves with Echo and how he gets taught to be without that and become stronger, because of it, similar to how she had to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, take control of his disability. Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the car sequence, we do have that moment where Echo confronts Clint, and that's where we find that she does not know he's Ronin, but he tells her, "Look at this girl." He says she's 8, or 9, I think he says, talking about Kate. Clearly, she could not have killed her father all those years ago. And I think she understands that, but at the same time, this is that outfit. So someone somewhere, we know Ronin, or Ronin, and then that's where Clint tells her he's dead, and the way he conveys that Black Widow killed her, or killed him rather, was beautiful because, again, as Chris said, it was done without audio, there was some subtitling involved, and it was just so great to have that, with the weight of that emotion. And we, since we all know who Ronin is, know that in a way, she did kill him. She took him out of that world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also there was like, not that Clint hasn't sort of been worried about Kate, but I think that was one of the first moments that when she actually grabbed Kate and Kate was like scared. I love the moment where he just became sort of that moment where he was with Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron, where he's like, if you're going to go out there, that means you're an Avenger. If not, you can stay in here and hide. That's fine. But like he's like the perfect balance of, I'm a hero and a dad in this moment to inspire, but also let you know that you're protected. And I love that he was like, this isn't the moment to be afraid. This is the moment to be that cocky, confident person that I know. And I thought that was really, I loved that part. I love that.
I also am glad that they're keeping in references to Black Widow. I think they could have very easily kind of like let it go. Like, oh, he's moved on. He's moved past it. I'm going to maybe say something controversial in the sense of, I don't love that scene or that choice in Endgame at all. I don't agree with how they wrote that and how she sacrificed herself. That's a whole other conversation, but I really hated that point in the movie. The movie's great, but I hated that moment between the two of them. And so I'm glad that he's still, remarking. No, he's still having to deal with that. And I think that's going to continue to play. She's been mentioned in every episode, or at least the last two.
I believe so.
And that I think is going to continue to play out with decisions that he makes at the end of this series. You know what I mean?
And then when her sister shows up to avenge her, so avenge, I said. Actually, it's funny you say that, Mike, because the one thing I would disagree with you, and I get that, your disappointment or your disagreement with the way it went with Endgame. It kind of allows a wraparound to what Chris was saying with the Scarlet Witch, where he's able to talk with her, and at the very end of Endgame, it's the two of them who have suffered the most loss, and they kind of like get together, and they're sitting there looking out after Tony. Oh, big spoiler! After Tony's funeral, and that could be Tony anyway. It's Tony LaRussa. He makes pizza.
The pizza guy.
But unless I'm talking Karate Kid, in which case that could be another huge spoiler, and I apologize for that. But I think that it also opens that possibility, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, that she could show up in this series. We know she signed on to do Doctor Strange. Most likely that's where she'll show up, and she won't show up before that. But they have that weird little connection that it would make sense for her in some aspect to have some referential treatment in the show. So we'll see what happens. So this brings us to this amazing car chase. They get out, they get into this car. They don't take Cherry, which was the name of a comic book. So that awesome, amazing Challenger that they don't want to scrap.
He says, I'm not smashing a 72 Challenger, which is amazing because he also, if you remember, he can't hear right then. He knows what she's sort of asking, and is like, no, we're not doing that.
So they instead get into another car that he's trying to hotwire. He tells her to drive, but he's on the driver's side trying to hotwire it. She is fighting with him, but he can't, like Chris said, can't hear. So they're fighting back and forth. And then the passenger side window gets shot out by the mafia, by the tracksuit mafia, and they have to go. So that puts him in the driver's seat, which now means she has to fire the arrows. And holy crap, they do a long take that is so gorgeous.
So good.
And I do apologize. We spring a lot on Mike at the last minute where he has to pop these things up, and I found a whole bunch of photos, but way too late in the game. You can find them online. I'm certain Disney Plus will do this when they're done with that Fast and the Furious racing out there.
I was like, Kevin, is it happening now? Is the
Yeah, it's happening behind me. I'm certain that they will show it when they do. I forget what Avenger. They do that series.
Yeah, they do the series after the show has aired. Yeah.
Oh my! I'm watching it just for that scene alone. It was incredible.
We need to make sure that we remark on the importance of the Christmas shenanigan playlist that happened in the moment, because it went from Trans-Siberian Orchestra right into the Home Alone flight, running for the flight. I think I went, okay, when I was watching it. It's very exciting. So please note that we have added this episode's Christmas songs to our It's a Hawkeye Christmas playlist on Spotify.
Ooh, that's fun.
That's our gift. That's our gift to you. That costs us nothing at all.
Yeah, just follow me on Spotify.
So in the moment that they're in this car and Kate is doing all of the firing using Clint's arrows, there comes a point where he says to her, there are only trick arrows left. And he told her in the last episode, I don't use trick arrows. I don't have trick arrows. He has nothing but trick arrows. It is a huge payoff. I have listed all the arrows that are used. Do you guys want to talk about them?
Yeah, I have most of them listed too.
Should we play a catchy opening?
You can play it, and we'll play our game after we list these. But go ahead, play that opening.
Let's
play it. Do it. Wow.
Talk about a song that has to get added to the playlist, am I right?
That one's catchy.
Or holiday. So we are going to play a game here. So we're going to list the arrows that were used. Mm-hmm. Before any of the arrows were used, Clint took 4 away. He said, oh, you can't use this. No, you can't use this. You can't use this. What did he take away? Now, I believe... so let's just go through what he did use. Chris, what do you have on your list there?
I have Play-Doh arrow.
Yeah.
I have suction arrow. I have the one that was actually my favorite use of an arrow, because Christmas shenanigans, we drove straight through a Christmas tree lot, and it grabbed onto all the trees and pulled it into the car. So I don't know what to call that arrow.
It's called his octo arrow.
Great. Then we also have acid arrows.
Well, you had an explosion arrow. He did have the explosion arrow. Flipped the truck, and she even said, "You have things that are more dangerous than that." And then yes, he had two. They had 2 of the acid arrows. Yep.
Then they had a regular arrow that got shot by some Pym.
So good.
That arrow
was freaking amazing.
That's what I voted. I think that's what I was like, yes, out loud. because I was legitimately like, oh, I wonder what this move is. He's just gonna Robin Hood it, right? He shoots it up and then he hits it so that it comes down. And when I saw Pym, I was like, banana. I don't know how they got me, but they got me. It was so good.
I did not expect it, and
there was a purple smoke bomb arrow too that had very Agatha Hargrave feel to it, and then the comical USB arrow, which really did nothing more than hit the big dude, who we think is Ivan, in the chest and fall on the ground.
So funny.
I will say this, as far as that Pym arrow shot and the scene, it's kind of out of the comic, but not quite. So when Matt Fraction did it, she fires the arrow up at his instruction, and it goes, but he shoots nothing, and the dude's about to take them out, but it was a boomerang arrow that comes back and then hits him in the back of the head and knocks the guy out. And this, that little piece for Pym Enterprise was so worth it, man.
So good.
Wow.
So that leaves 3 arrows that were left out, because they will eventually use one as a grappling hook. I assume that's one of the arrows he took out. So what the hell are those other 3 arrows? Any thoughts, Mike or Kristen?
I
Wow.
can go first if we want, and
Yeah.
then yeah. First off, you mentioned the boomerang. This is not on my list of like other arrows, but
Yeah.
boomerang arrow is one of the ones I feel like that he uses often in the comics, and so I'm excited to see if that like comes into play. It feels like a thing. I looked up a list of like all of Hawkeye's arrows like that
Yeah.
appear in the comics, and they almost use every single one in this one scene. So
In that
they
shot.
really they just like went for it. But things that I think could be fun, tech wise. So we saw PIM technology. I want like another tech arrow of some sorts. It could be like Iron Man-y, but maybe something like vibranium, adamantium. I want like another connection to like a Marvel character.
Okay.
So I'm hoping Tony Stark arrow or like vibranium, adamantium arrow. Because it's winter and because I like silly graphic, I feel like there should be like a freeze arrow that is like so
good.
stupid and comical, and like literally one of the tracksuit mafia guys, gets frozen with, and I don't care how cheesy it looks. I don't want to know the science behind it. I don't get like, they figured it out. Yeah, I mean, between Banner and Stark, they figured it out. You know what I mean? And it leaves the streaks like behind that big tracksuit mafia guy. I would love a freeze arrow.
Oh,
And then
yes.
my silly arrow, because of how great the smoke bomb arrow, the purple smoke bomb arrow, and the purple putty arrow look. They clearly went for like, oh, this is funny. He made them like, he didn't have to make them purple, but he was. That's part of his identity, right? That's his color. He wears a purple suit. I want like a purple glitter bomb, like holiday glitter bomb arrow. This again, comic relief. I want the big guy to get hit. You know what I mean? Just burst in his face, and he's just like covered in like, and it's just a distraction arrow. But I want it to be as silly or as ridiculous as possible, like just a glitter explosion. Those are my 3 hopes.
I love it.
And then his girlfriend doesn't take him to see the Imagine Dragon because she's like, clearly you were in a strip club.
He's late to the he's like late to the concert, and he's got purple glitter all over him.
Chris, what do you got?
My hope for like an actual arrow, well, actually these are all my hopes, but is one that is an arrow that will split into how many he actually needs. And will target those, because Tony had that tech where he would shoot one thing and then it would go pew, and hit everybody. I hope he has an arrow that does that. This is funny because I thought, Mike, you were going to say the same wish that I had because it's Christmas time. I really, really want like an arrow that makes it snow.
Nice.
Like full on snow or just a little bit of snow?
No. Like, yeah, like it'll get somebody and then they're like, oh, and then it goes.
Okay.
And then it snows off.
Hit a cloud and it's just a blizzard.
I like it.
And then if that's not already my silly arrow, I would really, really like an arrow that actually becomes almost like a skateboard that Clint like shoots, comes back, he hops on top of it and rides an arrow.
I love it.
Pretty awesome. It could be, that sounds
it's like Silver Surfer, sort of like, ooh, and like just gets on something and rides off. Those are my dreams for those 3 arrows.
I want to see an arrow that, like the Nerf football that you would throw and the technology you could hear it go. I want one where he shoots it and it plays the entirety of Rogers the Musical. That would be a nice one.
I can do this all.
Well, maybe each one's a different number, so he has to. I got 12 of these. I'd like to have in real life, and this is for Kevin Feige. I think he needs this. This is called a Tom Holland silencer arrow. He shoots it at Tom Holland, and he can't spoil anything in any of the Spider-Man without hurting him. He is a national treasure, not ours, obviously, but we borrowed him from over the pond, and we're not giving him back.
Yeah.
Our national treasure is Nicolas Cage.
Yes, and that is my 3rd arrow, Nicolas Cage. No, my 3rd arrow is actually makes you fall in love. It's like a Cupid's arrow, and it's called I Love You 3000.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Mike doesn't like anything about Endgame. He hates that movie.
We can talk another day. Hey, people watching Remark, Kevin and Kristin, they should drop their favorite arrows in the comments.
Oh, I need to know.
That would be great. Yeah, tell us what you think, what you want to see, what you want to hear.
Nice. I'm telling you, it's a pretty sweet, like, royalty-free jam you found there, Kev.
Right? I like it. It's cut down too. There's more to it. I'd like to thank Mike for dressing as a lumberjack, much like myself. I was going for the dad vibe of Hawkeye. So, Mike, I believe you yourself have a Hawkeye-ishness to it.
I do. I went for the purple accented flannel shirt in honor of Hawkeye. I
Normal.
also back flannel. Sorry. I am excited to go back to I can't wait to see the costume. That's what I'm trying to say, and that's what inspired me for this purple because it's another one of those like smoking gun. You know what I mean? You got to do it. He talks about it. She draws a picture of it. Even Disney kind of spoiled it a little bit. If you're on Disney Plus, the actual picture, it's not the silly comic book suit, but it's got him in more of a purple armored suit. So, but it'd be great if he smacks on the mask at some point, even if it's just a cheesy joke, like he's in a costume store and Christmas and you know what I mean, type of thing. I'm excited for a costume.
Amazing.
Cut out. I'm glad they did. They cut out from last week's episode where they're doing the role play, the live action role play.
It's called LARPing.
I said LARP. I don't know why I did that, but there was a guy dressed in a Hawkeye type outfit, had the H. It was the purple coloring and stuff. And they decided, we're going to cut this out because we reference it. So you can find that still online from on set, but they wisely cut that out.
Yeah. So after all of this exhausting fight to get out of the KB Toys, fight to get out of a car chase, they end up classically, beautifully on, as anyone that lives in New York, they know that you have to swing in to catch one of the subways in New York City before those doors go bing bang. So they must have made it. And I can only assume, were they on the Brooklyn Bridge, right?
I think so, because they're in Brooklyn.
No, that is the Queensboro Bridge, I believe, because that's the only bridge that has that weird, awkward, like car thing to the right, and then also a train goes.
I feel ridiculous because
Williamsburg Bridge. Sorry, New Yorkers. Williamsburg goes to Brooklyn, and again has that track, and then for the train along with the bridge. So it wasn't accurate. It was an accurate bridge. You know, sometimes when they portray cities, they kind of make up things and they swing in when they wouldn't have able to. That was you could potentially if you're a
well, because that's what's confusing, because I was like, it's because I was like, what train is it, because it didn't really show, and I was like, it's not the N train because Ditmars isn't near a bridge, like, so it was, I don't know, it was fun to figure that out as someone that at one point knew the subway system. But anywho, I love the shot of the two of them exhausted sitting on the subway holding bow and arrows, and not a New Yorker in sight gives any shit.
Why would they? Yeah. Perfect.
But I do have a question though, because I've watched the episode twice already today, and I might not be understanding Jeremy Renner in that moment, but she says at first, we need to walk the dog. And then he says,
her, remember.
What's that?
You can't hear her.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
So he's answering what he thinks she's saying.
So, because is that why he says, so you think you're the best? Oh, because that's what he thinks she says at first. And then he genuinely says assuming for the first time, we need to walk the dog. Oh my God.
It's cute. It's cute, Chris. I get it. They're like in sync, even though.
I get it. So I don't know why I kept forgetting he couldn't hear. Because then I was like, what is this conversation? That is adorable. Okay,
you hate Marvel, Ridley Scott. We get it. But it was very light and funny and a great moment. Yeah. So then they go back to her apartment, or her aunt's apartment. And when they're there, Clint gets a phone call and answers it and thinks it's his wife because it's coming from home. But again, he cannot hear, and he's kind of gonna explain it to her. He says, "Hey, can you text?" And then at that moment, Kate has written something on like yellow legal pad, and she holds it up, and she's saying it's a boy's voice. That's his son Nathaniel, and it is this amazing connection between Kate and Clint to make him be able to communicate with his son over the phone, where she just quickly writes what he's saying and holds it up, and he answers. And the moment that breaks your heart is as they're talking about different stuff. He says, "I love you, I miss you, I'm so glad to hear you," he says. And then she holds up and it says, "If you can't make it home for Christmas, it's okay." And it's like, holy crap, man. Like, and this is why Jeremy Renner has been nominated for 2 Academy Awards. Should be winning some of them bad boys, but he is excellent in that moment. It is just perfection without anything written, without anything said. It was
Right.
great.
I think that also, again, like, I'll make a joke, but I'm serious about it. Is there's that moment in in Waiting for Guffin when Catherine O'Hara's like, I'm gonna try that less is more acting, where you look away when you're not talking to someone, but when you're talking to someone, you look. The first thing I thought of was because they just you had so much Jeremy Renner looking at paper, looking at Kate, looking at paper, looking at like, and it was so beautifully done. Yeah. And Kate's eyes seeing his true just nature, which is what's so interesting because Echo is never assumes that that human is not the same person that killed her dad. Like it's just, it's breaking my heart slowly for when we have to come to that moment when Kate is going to realize that he did all those bad things. And I'm so yeah, it was beautifully acted. Beautifully.
I'd be interested, you mentioned the behind the scenes, Kevin. I'd be interested to know if Jeremy Renner chose to muffle his hearing at any point, or, you know what I mean, if he was actually hearing the sound of like a boy on the phone, or like as an actor, what his choice was. You know what I mean? Either way, it doesn't matter. I believed him 100%. You know what I mean? But it would be interesting to see if like he was hearing it but just acting really well, or he was like, no, like let's do something where I can't really hear or understand, so I can just feel it a little bit more. You know?
Right.
Yeah. They probably ADR'd in any of that audio from the board anyhow. Yeah. So yeah, there may have been nothing. That it's like you have to work off with what's in your mind, which is great. Yeah. So then we get to see back at KB. Now KB Toys is shutting down again. We've all lived through it multiple times.
Talk about a tearjerker.
I loved KB, man, because look, Toys R Us was the gold standard, but there was something awesome about KB Toys.
Oh, you could get some cheap broken things there, that's for sure.
It wasn't, maybe in New York, but man, I'm telling you, in the Philly area, that stuff wasn't broken. That was cheap. So then we see Kazi and Maya talking, which is an awesome moment too, because Maya doesn't want to talk because, you know, the Tracksuit Mafia is around, and he signs to her unless any of these idiots learned ALS or American Sign Language ASL in the past hour, then we're fine. So they're able to communicate, and in that communication, they talk about her uncle. Who was her uncle?
And I will say before, oh man, I meant to bring this up, but when Kate was talking to Clint, she talked a little bit about her father, and we got to learn that her father was fearless and helped a lot of people. We still have no idea, right? So I love all these mystery father figures that are just looming among us. But yes, Kevin, we got to hear about the uncle.
This is the point. Well, and this was after we saw what we're going to talk about, you know what I mean, which I think gave it away. But so that by this point, like mid-episode, I thought it was hilarious, just the characters, like fourth wall, like taking myself out of it, having to come up with, or the writers having to come up with all these ways to not say Kingpin. Like uncle. It was like the guy at the top. I wrote down someone above Maya, like just like such vague terminology where someone like clearly at some point someone's like, oh, it's the Kingpin, like, you know, the Kingpin. Or is it the Kingpin? Find out at minute 40.
In like 10 minutes. But then we have at the end of the scene in which they're in the diner, awesome scene too. There's a lot in there, a lot of drama. That's where she draws out the uniform that she suggests to him. It's where he says, I am not a role model, and he does not want to be a role model. Again, he carries a lot of baggage that he knows about. We talked about last week. It's very likely his wife knows about it because he is not that typical machismo, closed off male. He talks to his wife, and I love that.
It's not like you, Kevin, closed off machismo male.
Let me button it up to the top. Keep it all in. I'm very machismo. Let me tell you. But he gets up to pay because, of course, she has no money, and in that moment, she talks with our little friend, the magical dog, and she says, oh, I did not write, I thought I wrote them down. I forget the names.
You idiot.
Well, she's trying different names. She says Little Caesars. I remember that. She says Dog Father, and then she says Sir Pizza Lot.
Pizza lot. Yeah.
And she settles on Pizza Dog. And it made me think, what other names could we give this pizza dog?
All right, everybody, it's time to play everybody's favorite game. Name this dog. All right, tonight's contestants on the show, Kevin, Kristin, and I'm going to throw in some as well. Who's going to be our lucky winner? Last week we named Thanos's fish. This week we named that dog. All right, take it away.
Yeah, it's important that you all know that we are actuly really just a pet finder site. And,
every week,
we're talking about turtles.
Yeah. I'll start off for the running of this. I would like to name this dog Elio after Elio's Pizza, which is, I don't know if is that just a Philly thing or is that everywhere? Okay.
That's like the frozen in the store.
Yeah. That my mom had us live on as a single mom. She was like, all right, we got aliens. Let's go.
Kristin, listen, that's fine. But just remember when you pet the dog, it's going to be burning hot at some points. But in the middle, it's going to be ice cold. And that's Elio's Pizza. Yeah.
Kevin, do you have a name to offer?
I have a rebuttal. Sure. I would name, it's not Pizza Dog. It's DiGiorno.
No.
He's an Italian little dog. He's adorable. Come on.
No, that's stupid.
Did you?
All right, I had to go with Michael Scott's favorite pizza place at first with a little Sabaruff.
Nice.
But I actually found one that I think I like a little bit better, and that is Pizzeria Uno I.
Like with the puns, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
how about this? It's Disney Plus. It's a Disney Plus character at this point. They own everything else, and we are going to see Mandalorian coming out with season 3. We're going to see the Book of Fett coming out. We're going to see Obi-Wan, a whole bunch of stuff. What if we product line it and we just call him Hut?
Oh, I was like, Kevin, are you working for Disney? Why are you marketing all of these shows?
No, why would you think that?
Well, wait a minute. If we're going on Hut, can you just be called Pan Pizza? Remember those? The little baby pan pizzas you get that were like, just for you. And you were like, that's mine?
If you read a lot of books, right? Did you have the
book club? Oh.
Yeah.
I cheated the book club 100% just to get a personal pan pizza.
Pan pizza back. Any others? I've got one last one that I'm hoping we don't see, guys, because it would be sad. But it could be Tombstone, and if we see that,
no.
Wait, the other eye. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Someone say something funny. Kevin brought the room.
Dama, no, I only have I puns. Okay, well, this just in, everybody. It's Disney Plus. Disney Plus is very happy with Kevin's cross marketing, so the point and the win goes to Kevin this week, everybody. Kristin won last week. Kevin wins this week in this week's game, which was
Mike, I honestly, when I said that to you, did not even think that we did the fish thing last week. Very heavy.
It came to me when I realized how I was going to say name this dog was very similar to how I said
name that fish.
Name that fish.
Don't forget to spay and neuter your dogs.
Thank you, Bob Barker. So that brings us to the end of the movie where Kate takes Clint into her house. They basically break into her mom's house. While there, they do have a conversation in which they talk about the big boss. And while talking about the big boss, the uncle, big boss, again, Clint refers to him as he and talks about the reason he would be mad at him is Clint has taken down some of his organization. So it shows Clint knows who this is. And for the audience, this is a male identifying character. So while Kate's mother is still kind of shrouded in mystery, I don't think she's the big bad. She may be some baby.
Here's something interesting. I don't like that I cheat on you all, but I do another podcast called Oh Snap where we talk about Hawkeye as well. One of the fellows
Do
on
you
there.
plug this podcast subtly like you just did here?
I did. I plugged it big time on theirs.
You know, let me remark on this.
But Keen had a really great analogy for these
Cobb, good
bosses.
dude. Yep.
Keen Cobb said that it's like Super Mario Brothers, where you get to these different levels and you have to fight the different bosses, but we don't know who, like, we know who the ultimate one is. But I love that sort of like you have to finish these levels and beat this boss, and then finish this level and beat this boss. And I was like, that's the perfect way to describe this, because there's so many bosses, assumably, at this point.
Yeah, a lot of action series do this. I don't think it's ever a bad way to like structure your script because everybody loves it. It's such an easy thing to follow. You know, it's going one way. When it made me think about the car chase scene when they had that one long shot and the door opens and there's like the three guys there. I was like, this is so video game. It's like you defeat the one car and then the other car comes around and the thing comes up and it's like, oh, three more guys, you know. So we're obviously, I agree, Kristin, we are building towards the big boss.
Big boss.
Another
big
word
boss.
for Kingpin. It's Kingpin.
It's Kingpin. Just say it.
So, all right, let's end this episode and then talk Kingpin. Then what happens is, as Kate is getting into the computer, now Hawk Ear is able to hear in the apartment some movement, and he starts exploring. And this is when Jack shows up, perhaps the swordsman, but he does have Ronin's sword that he puts to Hawkeye's neck, and that's where our episode ends. And just a little thing, it ends with directed by Bert and Bertie. And if you don't know who Bert and Bertie are, I could tell you, but you should go Google it. It is a fun romp to find. It's these two amazing female directors, and they've got a lot of stuff coming out, and they are booked to direct a block of this series. So perhaps this and the next one, maybe even more. But geez, man, this was an amazing
episode. I just got really excited. I thought you knew they were going to do Loki's next series, and I was going to wet my pants because
who's doing it? Yeah.
Well, and shout out to Disney, and I don't know if it's Disney, maybe it's Kevin Feige, or maybe it's Jon Favreau for Mandalorian, but it reminds me just the amount of diversity that they've used in the directors of these episodes, I think is so amazing. And not only diversity in terms of, male, female, or ethnicity, which is super important. I think they've done a great job. Just trusting people's vision for each episode. You know what I mean? And you saw that a lot in The Mandalorian. I think you're seeing that a lot throughout the Disney Plus series as a whole, not necessarily episode by episode. Everyone has such a good, clean, fresh, take on these characters that have been around forever. So anyway, kudos to all the directors and the writers, but all the directors have been amazing, I think, so far.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
So since Kingpin is the big boss,
we're done. That's it. Named it. See ya.
that definitely was Vincent D'Onofrio's voice in the karate shop, and that is his hand and his arm and his fine suits that he always wore.
I was going to say that I don't know, and Kevin, you might want to set this up before we get into it, but I don't know if it's his hand. And this hand thing is hilarious because I've been following for months now, people overanalyzing the Spider-Man suit and hands in this GD Spider-Man trailer where they're like, he's got a belt, that must be Andrew Garfield. That looks more like Andrew Garfield's hand than Tobey Maguire's or than Tom Holland's hand. And here we are again. Marvel nerds back hoping that it's his hand. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So we go ahead. So this is her uncle. Okay, he is referred to as her uncle. It's exactly what her dad says when he leaves her karate. This is her uncle grabbing her face. She's smiling. Like, I had actually grabbed another screenshot that I was going to send Mike, and I was like, no, I don't want it to look like she's uncomfortable. When he first reaches out, she's a little kid, and she's just and then she smiles at him. She clearly knows, trusts, cares for this man. Yes. So whoever this is someone important in her life. Yeah. And then there are other little tidbits. You can pop this one on too, Mike. We get Fat Man Auto.
Yeah.
That was
He
not
is
a
referred
mistake.
to,
That was not a mistake. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
definitely not. There was no need to show. Yeah, the moment I saw that, I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go. We're lining up the pins, folks. We're lining up the pins to knock over Kingpin."
and the Kingpin. This is the location that Ronin kills her father, Maya's father, Echo's father, soon to be Echo's father. So there is something to be said. Perhaps that's where it ends with Kingpin being involved in that death, or perhaps he tipped off Clint and gave him that information. Who
Ooh, I
knows?
like that. I like that theory. Yeah, that's a good theory.
Yeah,
Ooh.
there are many, many ways you can go with it. So we will keep tuning in and we'll keep looking. Obviously, we're all looking for Kingpin. I don't think we really got into it a whole lot last week, but it was definitely on all of our minds.
There was
Lot to talk.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how obvious they made it. You know what I mean? I'm excited about it. I think it's smart because they're like, you know what? People are going to just keep talking about this week after week, and we're going to
Yeah.
have to shut up Vincent D'Onofrio like we're trying to hold Tom Holland down. You know what I mean? And he's had some funny reactions to it. I don't know, Kevin, if you saw or Kristen, you saw that a fan was like, "Oh, they should do it like the comic accurate." Which, if you don't know, and I wish I had this picture, but he's got a very, if you saw Into the Spider-Verse, he's got a very small head and then a huge body, and somebody
Yeah.
did like a mock-up of Vincent D'Onofrio's head on a huge body, and he's like, "That's ridiculous. We would never do that." But very coyly didn't say, "I would never be in this." You know,
Right,
what I mean?
right,
He
Which-
also
right.
said that guy looks good though, or
Oh,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah. So he likes and shares everything Disney Plus, everything MCU rather when it's coming out. So he is definitely helping keep that alive. I love it, whether he's in it or not.
Yeah.
I would love it more if he is.
Yeah.
Whether he's in, why are we still debating? He is 100%
Well,
showing
King,
up.
Kingpin 100%, but is it Vincent D'Onofrio? We think
It
it
is. There's no way it's not.
We'll see. I will say you can watch. There is an interview going around that's actually kind of interesting. It's a producer. I don't even know how to say her name. Her last name is Tran. I think her first name is Trina. She was doing an interview, and in the interview, the interviewer asked about Echo and bringing Echo in, and she said to him, she goes, "I can't tell you," which is the standard, and everyone accepts, and goes, and then she talked a little too much, and she said, "I can't tell you, talk to me after the series ends." And that F, everyone's like, is it the fourth episode? Is it the fifth episode? And I personally think she may have been saying finale. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's also possible she was going to say effing episode because I mean, it's, people say things. If you watch any of the Hallmark Remark that Kristin and I do, you will see us stumble over words left and right. Sometimes I edit them out. Didn't edit that out. Sometimes I don't. And so, like, it's possible it's nothing, but it is so much fun to play these games, to watch hands and words and consonants and
This is literally like, I don't quite, if both of you enjoy sports, but I don't really care about them. But like when I sit and listen to John and his friends talk about sports or listen to sports radio,
yeah.
like sitting here and getting to do this is, I think, my sports radio.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like the perfect, it helped me understand how John could listen to that much sports radio, because I could listen to us all day, baby.
Put in the
Talk
comments.
about-
Put in the comments if you think it's Kingpin. Put in the comments if you
Yeah.
think it's good. And if you say it's not, you're wrong. But
You're wrong.
And you can
You're
email all of your
incorrect.
complaints to remarktheshow@gmail.com. Chris, I want to go back to you because I cut you off a little bit about the not thinking it was his body. Like, I think they might have had like a younger, quote unquote, like thinner.
Oh,
actor
sure.
in there.
A stand-in.
But the voice. The
voice is his. That's
And the
it's
chuckle.
to make
the
us
chuckle.
know that it's
Oh,
him. Sure. I doubt they called Vincent D'Onofrio in for like $100,000 to do that scene. They found someone just
It was the chuckle that I got like shivers at, and I was like, yes, because he did like one of his like like kind of creepy chuckles. I just want to hear. I can't wait till I hear like a Vanessa or whatever.
Oh, that'd be
Vanessa,
great.
Where's Vanessa? Where's Vanessa?
He's dead.
You sound like Batman.
I know. Echo. I'm not doing a good impression, but his
Right.
So that is it, man.
You
So
did it.
check out episodes every Wednesday. You will see them on Disney Plus, or I guess late Tuesday night if that's still your day. I can't possibly do that. I do it super early in the morning on Wednesday. And you can check out episodes here. We will release them as soon as we get them done. So check out, I think Fridays is our goal here. What do you guys got to plug? Chris, you want to plug other people's podcasts while you're here?
Oh yeah, while I'm here, I'm on 9,000 other podcasts. Because I like to make no money. So yeah, listen to the Oh Snap podcast if you like Marvel things. Listen to Remark. Kevin and I talking about all of the holiday Hallmark films.
Not just Kevin and I, also Mike Gregor. Don't you hide, Mike. You're in it now.
No.
We got him.
I don't know. I think he's yes, he's ready.
Oh, that's really
Nice.
cute. So that's
Mike,
what I have to plug.
I will tell you, Mike, for the next batch of holiday films that we're doing for Remark in the Hallmark movies, the first one's Hanukkah, so that hat's not going to do you any good, buddy.
Listen, just let me not say no yet and feel like I'm getting into this, But that's right. Kevin and Kristin have invited me to Remark on not one, not two, not three, but up to 4 films every week. So I'm very excited for that. And so you'll see us there at Remark, the show. You can also follow me if you want at Mike G Does Things. I host trivia. I host at Comic-Cons. And I'll be doing a bunch of that in 2022. So feel free to follow along.
And you can see all of us in some capacity at a Comedy Sports near you. I think New York's doing a New Year's Eve show too, Mike, right?
Not a New Year's Eve, but we are doing some holiday shows coming up.
Okay.
Some holiday matinees in December. Yeah, so definitely check that out for sure.
Awesome. And then Comedy Sports Philly, we're going to be doing Christmastown, PA, and we're also going to be doing a big New Year's Eve show. So get your tickets. You can hit, for us, for Philly, you can do csetix.com or comedysportsphilly.com. For New York, I believe it's...
At CSC NYC on all the social medias.
Nice.
That's
We're
it.
so busy. We're so busy.
That's the way to be.
Way to be. Thanks for what? Oh, no.
Cute.
Someone say something funny. Kevin brought it down again.
No, I did. You're welcome. And yeah. Or that's also thank you.
I think that's thank you.
Transition!
It's been a long, exhausting day. Your troubles just won't go away. One thing that gets you through these is watching cheesy holiday movies. You think that you're above them, but you know that you love them. So get ready to listen. Now here comes Kevin and Kristin. Oh yeah.
So easy to add in, Mike. Just right there.